Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Tim Rumler podcast. Today, we have a guest that I've really been wanting to get on for quite a while. I call this man a friend. He's one of the top mortgage bankers in the Lansing, Mid Michigan area. He is very business savvy. He has a lot of business savvy. He really knows the inside and out of the mortgage business, and that is none other than Ben Clark. Ben, welcome to the podcast.
Tim, good to see you again. That's quite the warm introduction. I think you should talk to other people about me more often. If that's the intro I'm getting. Well, yeah, good to see you, man. For people who don't know me, I'm a mortgage banker here at Dart Bank. Dart Bank has been in the greater Lansing area for mortgage lending and other banking purposes for over 90 years, which I think is just phenomenal. As a mortgage banker, I deal with purchase transactions or finance transactions, construction, equity. You dream it, we can do it, kind of in the residential lending sphere. And for those who don't know, actually, Tim is actually one of my past clients, and that's how we know each other originally. I financed, if you don't mind me saying, I financed your property down in
That's fine.
Florida, which I see you and your fiance are getting some good use out of.
Absolutely. Uh, Ben, let's actually go there. I wasn't going to go there in the beginning, but let's talk a little bit about that. One thing that folks in the Lansing area know you, your team, Dart Bank Mortgage Department as a whole is you guys are known to be very creative, very customer friendly, but very creative in what you do and making sure you look at every nth degree to provide that customer the best package that fits them in terms of a mortgage. Is that something that's instilled in you guys, or is that just the natural makeup of your team, being you, Judy, and otherwise your group there?
Um, yeah,
If I may, it's really something everybody picks out. You guys you know your stuff, but you're very creative in what you do.
yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, everyone's going to say this, but we are the best of the best. We don't hire people off the street. You know, People don't typically start their career at Dart Bank. You establish yourself, and then you come to Dart because we have phenomenal products. We have flexibility. We have a culture that really promotes you getting creative with your business and kind of going after what you want to be. And that right now for me is kind of the first time home buyer niche. I'm kind of targeting low down payment programs. So like you said, it's being innovative with your business. And then Dart gives you the tools to kind of branch out and do those things. And one of the common themes we have at Dart Bank is high touch, and it's utilizing technology, to kind of be. The mortgage world is ever evolving, and if you fall behind in technology, you're going to suffer. So, using things like a bomb, and bomb is a software that lets you record yourself and email the client so they can get a face-to-face interaction versus email.
Nice.
To answer your question, yeah, we're kind of on top of the ball in terms of our programs to make sure we're addressing the market and where the market is. And we're also, allowed the freedom to go out there and do things like this because not everyone would be allowed to do something like this. They might have to run it through compliance, talk to Joan, talk to Jill, and
Yeah.
talk to Jane, and
Right.
gets through the grapevine. So yeah, no, I love it here.
You guys, and this is not a pat yourself in the back interview, but you guys truly are known among the agents, the real estate agents, and a number of business folks here in the Lansing, Mid Michigan area for your great stuff. So keep it up. Keep it up. You guys
Yeah,
are doing good work.
here.
Doing great work.
Yeah, there's no shortage of mortgage companies out there, but there's risk involved. And what I say to people is, we're not going to be the most rock bottom interest rate. That's not our role. We're going to be the best possible service, and we're going to get you to the closing table every single time. When it comes to our finance boom, Tim,
Yeah.
you can go with a lesser mortgage company and get a rock bottom interest rate. And you can kind of gamble that because that's not a purchase. But when you're under contract, you need to have a mortgage banker and a mortgage team that knows what they're doing and can get you to the closing table. That's a rocky game. Even with the happiest of transactions, one small thing can cause a huge delay and a huge expense for our borrowers, as we know.
Anybody I can tell to do so, again, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent here, but use a local bank, use a local credit union. There's nothing.
Ken Clark at Dart Bank.
Yeah, yeah. Ally, Rocket, all those big firms. I mean, I'm just talking from a touch standpoint. Always go with you can as best you can locally. You're going to get so much more bang for your buck, and you know the people that you're dealing with. So, that's my little tidbit of advice. Yeah, Ben Clark.
It sounds dramatic, but I quite literally right now I have a deal that the list agent accepted our offer because she saw Ben Clark at Dart Bank was the qualification letter, and that's not an overstatement. I'm not tooting my own
Yeah,
horn. I like to toot my own horn, but that's the
yeah,
reality.
yeah.
In a competitive market, you got to have a competitive offer, and part of that is a lender.
Let's go back to Ben Clark as a youth because, the best I can tell, you do have a number of people that you interact with and know you on a personal level here. I've got to know you on a personal level as a friend. Talk to me about growing up. Where did you grow up at? Had you always been interested in business, finance, numbers? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I grew up in DeWitt, Michigan. Our house that we have was originally my grandparents, and then my parents bought it and have renovated it since then. So it's been in our family for quite some time. They live out there in DeWitt. Not nothing too interesting. I was really into basketball growing up. I still am.
Yeah,
I'm a Pistons fan, which is oftentimes really difficult, but we're getting better. Went to Lansing Catholic High School, and then went to CMU. But growing up, I was not super interested in finance. I always found kind of wanted to be an artist, and I kind of leaned into that a lot. But that artistry has now become a part of my career, so I'm happy that I explored it. So no, I really wasn't into finance too much. I went to college for marketing. So I have my bachelor's of science in marketing, which I continue to use every single day. And fresh out of college, I can't remember, I think it was 2018. I actually moved out to Denver for a brief amount of time to live with a friend out there, and I was job hunting for jobs in marketing. And nothing was working, and it was kind of just it was a stiff market. So COVID happened. I came back to Michigan, and I was living in my parents' house. My dad's like, "You're not gonna live here for free. You got to go to work." So
yeah,
started off as a kind of a mortgage assistant of sorts at Dart Bank. I was kind of an assistant to someone, kind of working part time.
yeah,
And then once the refinance boom kind of started to, originates, they were, Dart had a gap. Like, we need someone to answer these phone calls. The phone's ringing off the hook. And so I kind of threw my name out there and see if I liked it. And I just instantly fell in love with mortgage banking. Like you said, just having control of your business. It's something that I
yeah,
love. So yeah, so I'm a chip, fire up chips, and I'm a Lansing Catholic Cougar as well.
for sure. Hey, if I'm not mistaken, now it's kind of a family affair there at Dart with you guys, correct?
It is indeed. Yep. My uncle is Aaron Clark, which some of our community members might recognize. He's a senior vice president mortgage banker. It's kind of a convoluted term, but he's kind of my mentor, and he's been teaching me the ropes of mortgage lending and growing a business, and that's been awesome. And then my father, Brian Clark, is our senior vice president of mortgage banking, and that could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But he's kind of in charge of dealing with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and all of our different technology providers. So it's kind of, yeah, I've kind of been in the mortgage world before I even knew it, before I even really realized it. I asked him when the last time he originated a mortgage was, and I think it was 2004. So he's long separated from lending, but Aaron is not. So no, it's family affair. That's right.
Now, do you have a brother too, or no?
I do, yeah, actually. And my brother did work at Dart Bank for a while on a temporary contract, which
Yeah.
expired now. But so there was a point where there were four Clarks in the same building. I think everyone was going crazy because we're so loud and obnoxious. So yeah, I do have a brother Nick. My brother Nick.
So you went off to CMU, you got your degree in marketing, you came back. What were your initial thoughts? Did you always in the beginning? Now we talked about the fact that you weren't going to maybe necessarily go into finance at the beginning, but were there any other careers that you really thought about or had offers to? Or
No, yeah, I mean, I had a couple interviews that got disrupted by COVID. I was actually interviewing for a marketing coordinator for a ski resort
oh, cool.
in Colorado, which I thought would have been really fun.
Yeah,
But it's one of those things where they stick you into like a dorm style, shared housing. And I was like, "Ah, I just got out of college. I don't think I can do that again." So, so no, I mean, yes, I had interviews for marketing coordinator positions. Other than that, no, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and quickly found out that I loved mortgage banking.
let me ask you this, Ben, and it's not. I always try to give my guests a heads up in the questions as they know, but this one's not on the list and it's not that off. But what's your take on college nowadays? Is that necessary for every degree?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's a good idea. Even the people that I know who don't use their degrees, college just instills a sense of structure into you. Your mind doesn't develop until you're 26. It's not done developing. So, to really kind of continue for a higher education while your brain is still developing, I think is important. But you get into the topic of someone who majors in theater, and that's kind of you hate to see someone spend an arm and a leg on college and have a degree that's maybe not super used. So maybe the question really is should college be so expensive? And I just tell you that answer is no.
Oh
I do.
yeah,
So,
oh yeah. Talk about Ben Clark's typical day as a originator, as a mortgage banker at Dart. I mean, from the beginning, that time you get up. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about what kind of deals, what kind of things get you fired up as a mortgage banker.
sure. Yeah. So, usually I'm in the office, right? I'll usually start my day at home
Yep.
right around 8 o'clock. I have a dog, a boxer Sonny, who's sleeping in her bed under me right now. But
Yep.
I actually only live like 2 minutes from my office in Lansing. So it's a really
Nice.
nice situation. So I'll start my day here typically. And then 8 to 10, I'm doing, returning phone calls, returning emails. And then actually my Calendly, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Calendly, but
Oh
it's a
yeah. Oh yeah.
booker that opens at 10. So 10 to 5 is when people can book me for, inbound calls or whatever. So, the first few hours, I'm just kind of, not really taking phone calls, but just kind of making sure everyone from the day before gets taken care of. And then the rest of the day in this kind of market, where deals are a little bit slower, it's a lot of marketing stuff. It's reaching out to realtors. It's, marketing tactics that the viewers will have to find on their own because I'm not sharing, but it's a whole lot of, kind of just staying active in the market,
Sure.
affirming relationships, following up with old customers, making sure everyone's happy, and spending times that way. You asked the question, what gets me fired up? And what gets me fired up is communication. Like I said, I'm a big technology nerd, so I love taking videos, sending them to my clients, and I like creating content that informs people. So the deals that get you fired up are the ones that are going smoothly. And inevitably, there's going to be deals that kind of have some sticky messages to them. But even those ones, that's always mitigated by communication and setting expectations. So the ones that get me fired up are the clean and easy ones. But what gets me even more fired up is making sticky files into clean files. So I'm just happy to be here.
You make my job easy in this interview here. Great segue. So let's lean right into what you had mentioned as far as video and technology. As we talked about off camera prior to the interview, I'm noticing a lot more. I'm noticing a lot more Ben Clark FaceTime on Reels and Facebook and everything else there. What got you going into that? Was it a little bit slower time? What's the added value that you see in that? And then talk a little bit about, how do you think other bankers and people, agents, you always see agents out and about, but how can people kind of behind the scenes leverage social media, Ben? What's your take on that, at least from your own personal opinion?
Yeah, I have been doing a lot more social media, and it's something that I've dabbled with before. Kind of during, like I say, I referenced the refinance boom when bankers were they had zero time. I mean,
Yeah.
working crazy hours, and there just wasn't time to do this kind of stuff. But really, the feedback from my sales manager and the feedback from a couple other of my mortgage banking mentors, guys who have been doing this for 20 plus years, they all kind of were like, "You need to keep doing this. This is good." And so, I have a lot of this technology from previous creative endeavors, but then, I'm also a fan of investing in yourself. And was this camera cheap? No, I wish it was. But
Yeah.
is it worth it to invest in yourself?
Yeah.
I say small checks, cash, big checks. You use that in moderation, but broke money don't or scared money don't make money.
Right.
So to answer your question of mortgage banking and social media platforms, I'm not necessarily qualified to give anyone advice because I'm still very much learning myself. But, in my opinion, I think the biggest difference between someone who is successful on social media and someone who is not is the quality of content. There's a term we use in marketing and advertising, and I'm sure it's made its way into the mainstream now is clutter. It's when you put something out there on social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, what's going to make people stop scrolling? People doom scroll. So if you're on your phone, you're doom scrolling, just waiting for something to catch your eye. So what's going to make someone stop? And I can tell you what's not going to make them stop is you on your iPhone outside and the lighting's off and they can barely hear you. And so the difference between that and a nice production, that gets me to stop. Does that get everyone to stop? No.
Right.
But some of the best advice I got, which I'll share, is the best content is the right content in front of the right people. If you keep that at the forefront of your mind, you start to kind of look at things a little bit different. I have this product. How do I get it to this person? Or how would this person use this product? So using social media has been great because of that reach. You don't have to know these people to pay $100 for an ad and have them see it.
That is it. You nailed it in a moment ago, and I just let it go for a moment there. But you're exactly right. If you can keep your name and if you can keep your face, and they can picture you as one of the top two people, if not the top mortgage banker, that's going to pay dividends in full. If through social media, and people used to put it on cards and everything else, and business cards are great and mailings and all that, but if you can do it through social media, the ability to leverage that exponentially is just so much greater. So I think you're nailing it right on the head there.
Yeah, the human attention span is shorter than a goldfish's human span. So you have to have constant contact. You have to almost engrave it in their subconscious. When you think of mortgage, yeah, why do you think of Ben Clark?
Well, and I just heard this yesterday. What they say, the average TikTok or otherwise is about 7 seconds. People stay on it. I mean, can you imagine? There's something to be said for long form still, but just the ability to use, whether it be LinkedIn, TikTok, those platforms that people are not using. People in the Lansing area, people in Mid Michigan are not using and leveraging those as much as they could. That's
Yeah,
just great.
agreed.
So,
Especially TikTok. I think TikTok is a really fascinating new social media platform. And I follow quite a few different mortgage bankers on there who have had explosive growth in their business because of TikTok. And it's something that I need to explore a little bit, but I'm not sure about it quite yet.
it doesn't, as you know, Ben, it doesn't go on, the algorithm doesn't go on, it goes on search, it doesn't go on who you are connected with.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, it's hard. I wonder what it really does, but
Yeah,
it has to work. People are doing it.
for sure. Well, let's get in a little bit of business here, Ben. Talk and let's try to bring as much value in the time that we have here to potential homeowners.
Yeah.
Let's discuss the most very basic definitions and the requirements for different types of loans. And speaking to you and speaking to the other mortgage bankers, I want to bring value and make sure people are up to speed on a conventional loan, a MISHDA loan, a VA, FHA. Can you talk a little bit about those and also how can people be proactive in getting their ducks in a row?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing I say to my clients when we have that first contact is when you're putting in your application, you're not applying for just one loan. You're kind of giving me an introduction to your financial profile. And then we take a look at all the different options in our marketplace of loans. We assess the pros and cons of each, and then you make an educated decision. I'm not going to tell you what to do. We're going to lay out the pros and cons of everything and make sure that you're making the decision based on your financial situation and plus your goals too. We have to think about, the next 30 years. And so I was just reading, I can't remember what market this was from, but conventional loans were like 70% of accepted offers. They were like 70% of loans that are being used. So conventional loans are the king of mortgages. Tim can probably attest to this. If you're looking at an offer on paper and it's an FHA loan versus a conventional for the same price, same features, you're almost always taking that conventional. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't. And conventional loans can start off with as little as 3% down. And we'll have to add disclosures, Tim, because I that's a trigger term in my industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 3% down, people always ask what's the minimum credit score, and that's just based on your financial profile. If you have a lower credit score but you have a larger down payment, that could work. If you have a higher credit score and a lower down payment, that would also work. So it's all kind of just pros and cons. What I would say is if you have a 640 credit score, you might be challenged to get a conventional loan, but that's not a say all. I've had clients get conventional loans in that territory. So you might be asking, well, what if I have 3-ish% down and my credit score is a little bit lower? Well, FHA is always a great option as well. I love FHA. FHA is a government loan versus the conventional loan typically come from these government-backed agencies called Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae.
Mm-hmm.
With FHA being a government loan, It's backed by government-backed securities. So what that means is that you're getting a government loan, but the stipulations are a little bit higher. So they have a little bit higher scrutiny on the mortgage itself and the borrower. So, but that's a great product. If you have, a 608 credit score, I had one recently with a 608 that FHA went through. It's a great product. I don't tell everyone this, but I had an FHA loan. I was fresh out of college. I didn't have a lot of money. I
Yeah.
wanted to start investing in real estate. I had an FHA loan. I love it, and I recommend it to everyone who can do it.
Sure.
It's a great program. It gets a knock in our community because it's not the best, but it's good. It's great.
Yeah.
Any product that you can get to buy a home, I think, is just phenomenal. And so we talk about, hey, I have no money. I have $0. There's a couple different programs that I really, really like. USDA Rural Development, U.S. Department of Agriculture, that is, they have a program for rural development. So if you're outside of cities, really, if you're outside of Lansing, if you're outside of Grand Rapids, if you're outside of Detroit, there's a program with 0% down, and it's just a phenomenal program. The fees are consistent, very, very comparable to a conventional loan. And that's one that could rival a conventional offer, just kind of based on, the variables at play there.
Sure.
But really, Tim, my favorite program is a program called Dart 100. And it's one of our newer products. It's a portfolio product, which means Dart Bank is lending you the money. And if you have a 680 credit score or higher, we can do 100% financing. That's 0% down. And so what would happen if a client wanted to go get a house? So me and Tim would call me, hey, man, I got a client for you. I'd get them pre-qualified and call them, hey, Tim, this person wants to go in it with no money down. Great. So let's say there's $100,000 house and they're 0% down. Well, let's offer $105,000 and ask for $5,000 back. And now this person has no money at the closing table. I mean, you have to have 1% of the transaction. So for $1,000, these people can get a house. I absolutely love that transaction. So that kind of answers your questions on kind of the run of the mill.
I was not aware of that. That Dart 100 is fantastic. I mean, right. I have not heard of that, so that's awesome. Good for you guys. Let's talk about I want to be mindful of your time here. Let's address the elephant in the room right now. And you could go down a rabbit hole with this, Ben. I know, absolutely know you could, but interest rates. How did we get to where we're at right now? I know that sounds like more a rhetorical question, but how did we get to where we're at? What's Dart's current interest rate right now on a conventional?
Well, how did we get where we were? During COVID, the Fed had a 0% rate, so banks could borrow at a 2% or 0% interest rate because they froze that. So that's why rates were so low. And then once they started, they ended that moratorium. They just super overreacted to the kind of what the situation was with the economy. So now we're seeing rates just skyrocketing for variables that I'll say for a different podcast. But interest rates are going to be in the high sixes, low sevens right now, kind of wherever you're looking. Be wary if someone's offering you something lower because there's something in the fine print that you're not seeing. And so I have two thoughts on this. And one thought is I see a lot of mortgage bankers trying to sell people on these rates saying, oh no, rates are historically low. Well, that's true because Tim, your mom and your grandma may have paid 16%, on a mortgage, but 16% on a $50,000 house, which is what it cost back then, is a lot different than a 16% on a $400,000 house. It's different.
Sure.
So I'd rather pay 50. I'd have to do the math before I say that, but 7% on a $400,000 house that's high. That's no secret. Sure. So, but here is why, Tim, this is the best time to buy a house. And this is not a realtor, mortgage banker sales pitch. This is true. When rates go up, home prices go down because there's less buyers in the market. So if you want to buy a house right now, this is a phenomenal time. People are afraid of these interest rates without realizing this isn't sustainable. It's literally not possible. Look at all the market trends. Look at all the historical trends. We're here.
Yeah.
It's going to be here. And if it doesn't, that's where we're at. So why wait? So I really think this is a phenomenal time to buy. It's hard to get people to see that because they're afraid of the 6 and the 7. But there's things we can do. With construction loans, there's a 2-1 buy down, so you can buy the rate down for 2 years. Technically, it is 2 years.
Yeah.
Other things we can do too, but I really think it's a great market to be buying right now if you're not intimidated by the interim of having a 6 to 7% interest rate.
Where do you see it going? Where are the talking heads? Where do you guys see it's going as a team there at Dart in the next
You know,
12 to
one of
18
my
months?
real estate
Do a
partners.
little prognosticating there.
Yeah, one of my real estate partners in Ann Arbor, Tom McClendon, he's actually a financial planner and he's much smarter than me when it comes to finance. He's much more experienced. And his suggestion is that we'll see rates lessen, with this recession, kind of ending in 3 to 5 years. But recently I've seen other reports that say that these rates are going to last maybe even longer than that. So people
Mm.
much smarter than me are having debates about it every day. I'm optimistic that within the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see rates come down to a healthier market in that 4 to 5% territory.
Well, yeah, it's a hot topic in our business, both yours and mine. So um, I really didn't. I've never heard that take on it, Ben, before, as far as it being a great time. But it does make sense numerically, and we can only hope for the best here coming down the road.
Yeah, people got to buy houses, man. I mean, it's
Oh,
move,
yeah.
people, divorces, you got everything happens. So, I mean, it,
Amen.
it wouldn't scare
Amen.
me if I had to buy a house right now, which thankfully I don't need to. It would not intimidate me to go out there and get a 7% interest rate.
Let's get a little bit more personal. I'm going back to the beginning with I'm Ben Ben Clark. Talk to me a little bit about what does Ben like to do in his free time when you're not doing that. I'm not on the clock.
That's a great question. And really, when I'm off the clock, I'm thinking about being on the clock. I'm kind of a workaholic. So I'm always kind of, I mean, you know how it
For
goes.
you, good for you.
Yeah, working in real estate, you're always kind of on the clock. So I'm always kind of thinking about new ideas to talk to people. But I'm a tech nerd. I'm sitting, you can see it
Yep.
in the background here. This is my PC. I'll play
Love
video
it.
games with my friends. I'm only 25, so I'm still young enough to where I go out to the bar sometimes and grab some beers, which we'll have to grab one day. We'll have to go to Lansing Brewing or
I
something.
love that. Love
So
that.
yeah.
At the end of every interview, Ben, I try to do a little bit of rapid fire questions. I'm only going to do 3 or 4 or 5 here.
All right.
Are you ready?
All right, I'll be on my toes.
What's your favorite Michigan travel destination, or even nationally, domestically?
I went to Tokyo, Japan,
Oh, nice.
and Tokyo was absolutely phenomenal. I had plans to go to Phuket or Phuket. I'm not sure you pronounce it, but in Thailand, and COVID
Okay.
ruined that. So Thailand is next on my itinerary.
Favorite type of cuisine? Mexican, pub grub, Chinese, Italian?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I'm really big. There's a if you've ever been to Front 43, actually no, let me change that. If you've ever been to the Creole in Old Town, they have a national hot chicken sandwich. I think I could have that every single day.
Nice. I went to oh doggone it, I cannot even remember the chain the other day. Um, it was Chinese food here in the Lansing area. No, yeah, Lansing area, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The thing about Lansing is, and having moved here just a few years ago, was the fact that there's so many different hole in the wall places to go to eat.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure.
Lansing has some great picks too.
Favorite book or business book?
Oh man, I just finished Go Givers Sell More, and that was a really good read. If you go to a lot of networking, if you go to a lot of networking events, this book, Better Small Talk, has been awesome. So I recommend that. Not a huge, I'm more of an audiobook guy. And I just finished
Same.
my favorite stand-up comedian, Tom Segura, has a book called I'd Like to Play Alone. That's hilarious if you've read that.
You say you are an audiobook guy?
I'm an audiobook guy. Yeah,
Same.
audiobook, a little
Same.
easier.
Put the AirPods in, let it go.
Yep, you know it.
Favorite app on your phone?
Oh man.
Non-business, non-business.
Man, I gotta look. I don't even know if I have
Even
anything.
TikTok or
I don't
or
think I have anything
otherwise?
fun. I would say,
Twitter.
yeah. Let's go with Instagram. I like to doom scroll on Instagram.
Uh, if you can see yourself in let's say 3 to 5 years, do you still see yourself in mortgage banking?
Absolutely. Yeah, I see myself as a much bigger producer than I am now. And I'll look back. I'll set a reminder to check back in 3 years on this podcast to make sure
Love
that I'm
that.
holding myself accountable to it.
You have been truly one of the best the guests that we've had on here.
Oh,
I've really ramped this up in the last few months, and I'll tell you what, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I get smarter every time I talked to you about banking and mortgage banking and everything else, all the little hints that you've passed along to me over the last couple of years. So, Ben, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
on, man.
thanks for having me. If for everyone out there listening, check out the Brock Fletcher one that you guys did. I've known Brock for a long time. He's a great guy. But thank you so much for having me, Tim. It's always a good time to catch up with you. And I'm going to hold you to that beer later on.
Done. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ben.
See you, buddy. Take it
All
easy.
right, we'll talk to you soon. Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too. See
You
ya.
bet. Bye bye.